Getting rich is not as simple as it is, and getting wealthy is not as simple as a ABC. There are some certain factors or certain things that you need to avoid in your life if you actually want to belong to the rich class, the affluent class, the wealthy class in society. And it is my utmost belief that if you actually follow these conditions, which I am going to, you know, state and explain in this video, you will actually be rich. Like I said, getting rich is not as easy as it seems to be. And these conditions or these prerequisites are very, very important. So join me as I dive into this lecture. Now, the first thing you need to avoid if you want to be rich and you want to be superfluous in the society, you want to belong to the class of the elite, you want to belong to a higher class in the social stratification, you want to be seen as a big fish. This factor number one, which I'm going to discuss, is very, very important. Number one is that you need to avoid taking advice from broke people. You need to avoid taking advice from broke people. Now, who are the broke people? The broke people are actually the so-called consumers in society, those that do not have a higher level of financial education or do not have any form of financial education. Now, you need to avoid such people if you actually want to be rich in life. Now, when I say avoiding them, it doesn't mean that you are actually proud or you are very pompous or arrogant or you are trying to, avoid these people. It's a natural law of nature because, once you are rich, you are naturally attracted to the richer class. But that is not to say that in most cases or sometimes people don't take advice from this group of people. Now, I will now tell you the reason why you need to avoid taking advice from broke people. Number one is that these people have never once in their life engaged in any form of financial transaction. When it talks about what doing a business and engaging in what in business enterprises or any form of investment, so they might not be in the best position to give you that advice you actually wanted at the end of the day. Now, number two factor which I'm going to discuss is that broke people actually think like the majority people in the society. Don't forget, I say there are two classes of people in the society. We have the minority and the majority. The minority are actually the rich class, while the majority constitutes what I call the poor class. So if you are actually taking an advice from the majority, you might likely make a lot of a mistake. Now, another thing is that you need to be cautious whenever you are taking, most especially financial advice from them, in order not to avoid a pitfall. Then, number 4 point is that you need to avoid taking advice from poor people or broke people because they lack financial and investment education. Do you understand? They lack financial investment education. Then, when you are taking this advice from them, I'm not saying that all of them are very, very poor in terms of what to advise, but if at all you are going to take advice from them, you should take the best of what of advice or best of what of opinions that they are giving to you. Then you can now what dissect it and use it in your own way to favor you at the end of the day. Now, apart from that, apart from the fact that we have these broke people not having financial education and the rest of them, you also discover that even among the so-called financial advisors, there are good ones and there are also the bad ones or those that are not actually good. And that's why when you're taking advice, even from the financial advisor, you need to be very careful in this situation. Now, number two of those things that you need to avoid if you want to be very, very rich or very, very wealthy in society is what I call avoid stimulating the economy. Avoid stimulating the economy. Now, what do I mean by avoid stimulating the economy? You see, when I say stimulating the economy, I mean making other people rich. You understand now? Making other people rich. If you have been watching my video, I've always discussed about, or I've mentioned, making other people rich. When we buy those things that we don't necessarily need, we are making other people rich. So you need to avoid stimulating the economy, because when you're actually doing this, you are making other people rich, and you are not making yourself to be rich at the end of the day. Now, so one of the points under avoiding stimulating the economy is that you need to avoid what I call spending more money. Most especially if you are spending money on what, on extravagant nature, or you are actually spending your money on what I call liabilities. It will not help you at the end of the day, because liabilities will not create value. The only thing that can actually create value for you is what I call asset. So you should invest more of your money on assets and not liabilities. Then number 2 point is that you must avoid making other people rich, which I've just stated earlier. You need to avoid making other people rich, because when you actually buy their product, you are making them to be rich. Then number 3 point in this number 2 is that you need to avoid being a consumer. You see, those that are actually rich in the society are the producers and not the consumers, because the consumers have this what I call insatiable urge for everything that they actually see. They want to consume everything, just like what I call the minority, I mean the majority class, that cannot actually be able to be disciplined in terms of how they actually spend their money, because they once they get the money, they spend the money immediately. There is no room for savings, there is no room for investment, there is no room for what, for planning or budgeting. Do you get it now? So you must avoid being a consumer, because the capitalist system has actually been made in a way that we have two classes of people in the society: the producers and the consumers. And when you're talking about the consumers, they are the majority. But when you're talking about the minority, they constitute the rich class, or those that have financial education. Those that have financial education. So if you don't have financial education, you need to start making efforts in what, in making yourself to have a financial education. And when you talk about the minority in the society, you have the investors and the entrepreneurs. The investors and the entrepreneurs. The so-called investors and the entrepreneurs are actually the people that constitute the capitalist system, that are actually generating wealth for themselves at the end of the day. Now, then another point is that you must strive to be an investor, or what, or an entrepreneur. So you must try and endeavor to be an entrepreneur and an investor. An investor is actually somebody that actually put his money into a business, and it gets a return back in form of what, of profit or cash flow, or it creates what I call multiple streams of income that's always generating money for him, and he's always very, very rich, because he has what we call financial education. Then if you talk about the entrepreneurs, they are the business owners, because in the capitalist system, people will always buy from the entrepreneurs, and when they buy, they are actually making the entrepreneurs to be very, very, very rich. You see, you need to understand the concept that the system is actually rigged. And when I say the system is actually rigged, I mean that the system, you know, the government constitute the system, the corporation constitute the system, and the banks constitute the system. And what makes the system or the economy to be very vibrant is when you actually spend more money in this economic system. So the government wants you to spend more money. The corporations made up of the investors and the entrepreneurs, they want you to spend more money. Then the banks too, they want you to spend more money, because when you spend more money, you are getting more money from the banks. Then the third one is what I call, which is number 3 of the things you need to avoid, is that you need to avoid, investing emotionally. Investing emotionally. You need to avoid investing emotionally. And when I say emotionally, most people in our contemporary time, they actually find themselves in a situation where the economy sometimes can actually experience some slowdown, or some meltdown, or some drawbacks. And whenever there is this economic slowdown or meltdown, you realize that there is always what I call a panic in the system. People panic a lot, and because they are panicking, the value of their money actually, at this point in time, or the form of investment that they actually invest their money, the value of the investment will actually go down in this period. And at that period or point in time, you realize that most of them will always sell their stocks at a dividend rate or at a lower rate. I call it a dividend rate because it's just like what a giveaway price to people. For example, if you actually buy a stock for maybe 5 naira, they can decide to sell it for 1 naira at the end of the day because of the panic in the system. And that is where the so-called investors that have financial education will always come in and buy are in that period of economic or financial crisis, because they know that at the end of the day the stock will always bounce back and everything will go back to normal. And this is a secret used by someone like um, Warren Buffett and some other financial gurus or financially educated gurus in the capitalist system, where they make enormous profit at the end of the day. So you need to avoid investing there emotionally. Do you understand? You need to avoid investing there emotionally. Then number 2 point under that is that you need to avoid panic selling. Whenever there is an economic meltdown or financial meltdown, or there is a financial problem in the system, economic recession in the system, because every period or every time after a period of 10 years or more, the world will always experience financial meltdown. And in this period of time, whenever there is a financial meltdown, it is not the time to actually sell your stock, because your stock are going to bounce back. Then number 3 point is that you need to be very, very patient when you are talking about avoiding selling, emotionally. You need what I call a patient, because history has made us understand that despite the economic meltdown, the economy will always say bounce back. Just like what we have in the United States now and some other parts of the world, the economy is bouncing back despite the negative effect of the COVID-19. So then another point is that you need to get what I call financial education. To actually succeed, to actually make more money in this economic system, you need financial education. Financial education will actually put you in a position to know the intricacies and the secret and the dynamics of the economic system, the world's economic system. Then another thing you need to avoid is what I call the quick rich scheme. The quick rich scheme, because people are very, very greedy. People are very, very, they love money so much, and they believe that they can actually become rich or very wealthy within a twinkling of an eyes. Getting money or becoming rich doesn't work like that. It's a decade of what I call a sacrifice. It is something that you have to put your money over and over and over or regularly, and to get to a point where you can now say you have actually arrived. And that's why we call it a decade of sacrifice. So you need to avoid the get rich scheme quick system, where you put in 1 naira, you want to get 50 naira at the end of the day. It doesn't work like that. To become wealthy, it is a slow process, it's a gradual process, a decade of sacrifice. It is something you have to build there over time. Do you understand now? Over time. Now, when you talk about wealth, wealth term is actually the best system of investment. Do you understand that? It is the best system of investment. That is, if you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to make money in this economic system, then you have to invest your money. Then you must also understand that investment also has its risk, most especially if you are an active investor. It has its risk. Sometimes you may lose money. In fact, you will lose money, and sometimes you make money. And that's why I always advise people that if you don't have much ideas about how to actually invest in the financial market or in the stock system, in real estate or index funds and the rest of them in a direct form, then you can do what I call passive investment, where you actually invest your money and you get some percentage return on investment at the end of every financial year. And that's what I'm actually doing. I'm doing what I call a money market fund under what I call a mutual funds. And I have different portfolio investments. Like I have investment on what in the FBN Edge, and I also have investment in what, in quantum zenith. Do you understand now? So then another point which I will say is that patience is actually the key to investment. If you're looking for a quick way of getting money, then investment is not actually for you. If you're talking about investment, it's actually something you have to build over a particular period of time. And that's why we call it a decade of investment. We call it a decade of sacrifice, something that will take you maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or even 20 or 25 years. Then, if you have actually been able to weather it the storm through for this period of time, you realize that or that you are going to have what we call a compound interest at the end of the day. Most especially if you are investing as what, as a passive investor. If you want more ideas on what I mean by passive investors, my videos are actually there. You can watch those videos. Then another thing which you must avoid if you want to be wealthy is you need to avoid what I call loans. And what do I mean by loans? You know, when you actually go out there to borrow money from some people and they charge you interest on top of the money, the interest actually varies. But because of the high level of what, of inflation or inflationary trend in the country now, the interest rate is very, very, very high. Is very, very high now. And that's why I always advise people that don't ever take more than you can ever pay. If at all you have to take a loan, because loan too can actually create a hole in your pocket or can actually create what I call leakage in your pocket. But if you actually have a kind of a business that you are very sure that you can make more money at the end of the day and make extra money and even make more than the interest that you're going to pay on the loan, then you can actually go for a loan. So loan is for business, not for pleasure. Not for pleasure. I could remember some time ago, one of my colleagues actually got money from the bank. I think he got about 1 million or thereabout, about some few years back. And the first thing he did that night was to, he took some two girls and they had a nice time till daybreak. And I asked him, what did you actually do with the money you actually got in? And he said, I actually spent 50,000 naira, with some girls, and we had a nice time till daybreak. And I just shook my head and I laughed because I know that he doesn't understand the dynamics of money because of his lack of financial education. So you need to avoid the loans, because when you avoid loans, you are avoiding high interest rate because they will charge you more. Presently now, most of these mortgage financial institutions are actually charging about 25%. Now that means that if you actually borrow 100,000 naira from them, you are going to pay what I call 125,000 naira. That is about 25%, 25,000 naira out of what, of 100,000 naira. You're going to pay more money. And don't forget also that the interest is actually cumulative interest. And if care is not taken, you are going to pay more than even what you have actually collected as what, as a loan, because that is how the system actually works. And because of the greed, because of the selfish interest and the egocentric nature of the people, you discover that people don't even think beyond the loan. They will just rush into the loan. At the end of the day, they end up regretting for the rest of their lives. And people never learn, because even when they pay it and they finish paying the money, they will still go for another one. And by the time you calculate the amount of money you're actually using to pay loan in a year, in most cases and sometimes you will discover that most money, or some of this money, are actually running into millions of naira. Have you ever done the calculation? Then you need to avoid what I call the easy buy, the buy now pay later, and the mortgage financial institutions loans. The easy buy will tell you, come and buy, we'll finance your buying and everything you want to do. We'll finance it and you pay some little amount of money, and you also pay interest at the end of the day. Then buy now pay later is the same thing too. They avoid what I call the credit card scheme, or a credit card that gives you credit facilities to actually spend the money, and you are going to pay interest at the end of the day as well. Another thing you need to avoid if you want to make money in life, not planning for life circumstances. Not planning for life circumstances. So if you want to be rich in life, you need to start planning for life circumstances, because most cases or most situations, people don't plan for life circumstances. Life happens. Life is an eventuality. Anything can happen at any time. You might be rich today, you might be poor tomorrow, anything can happen. Life is just unpredictable. Do you get it now? But as a human being, you need to prepare for emergency because life actually happens. And when you actually prepare for emergencies and this life actually happens, you will be able to, overcome the challenges that comes your way at the end of the day. So you need to prepare for emergencies. And how do you prepare for emergency? You actually need to do what I call, saving some part of the money every month for emergencies. And somebody will tell you, how can I be saving money at the end of the month for emergency? Of course, it's very important because life can happen. You can lose your job, there can be an accident, there can be an emergency, there can be medical emergency, there might be situations you have to pay for children's school fees. Life happens. Your dependents and your family relations and the rest of them, they might require money from you. And it is when these things like this actually happen, you can dip your hands into the emergency and take the money without necessarily affecting your investment. So you need to understand that you need to prepare for emergency, and emergency is actually part of a life. Do you get it now? So save some money up every month. And like I always say, if you actually lose your job at the end of the day, you should be able to survive for the next 3 months, even if you don't have any job. Do you get it now? Because you have actually prepared yourself. And there's every tendency that even when you lose your job, before 3 months or so, or before the end of 3 months, you might likely get the job, another job back at the end of the day. So you need to prepare yourself for emergency, for eventualities and life, because life happens. You see, recession, inflations, economic meltdown are part of the economic system, and what makes you tick at the end of the day is your ability to surpass the inflation, is your ability to surpass the recession, is your ability to surpass the economic recession, is your ability to surpass financial challenges, is your ability to make more money at the end of the day. So what makes you actually to be thick, to be strong financially, is your ability to overcome inflation. Because I will be sincere with you, in the period of inflation, people are making money because at that point in time, interest rate is always very, very high. And when interest rate is high, that means that those that are actually investing in that economic system, we have what? Higher profit at the end of the day. That is how inflation works. So inflation sometimes can be a blessing to some people, but for those that are not financially educated, it might not be a blessing. But if you are actually financially educated, it's a period to make more money. You need to set aside some money, so that in case you are caught up in this, inflationary trend or situations, you can always survive at the end of the day. So setting aside some money is very, very important, most especially in our current economic system called capitalism. Do you understand now? So you must set aside some money also because it actually creates what I call investment opportunities. Whenever there is an inflation, there's economic meltdown, there's recession, it's actually the period for financial opportunities. And for you to be able to key into these financial opportunities, you need to have some money that are set aside for these endeavors that can actually come up at any point in time. We have actually experienced one financial, recession or economic recession in 2000, in 2008, in 2020 or so 2019 because of what the economic, pandemic or COVID pandemic. Do you get it now? So for those that are financially educated, it is actually the period for investment. It's actually the period of what? Of windows of economic and financial investment. So it is very imperative, it's very important. You need to set aside some money. Then another thing, number 6, which I'm going to talk about, is that you need to avoid saving all your monies. You need to avoid saving all your money. Somebody will tell me that I have about 500,000 naira, 1 million naira in my account, and for that reason, I'm actually very rich. I am, well guided financially in case anything happens. You see, saving your money in the bank is actually good, but when you put your money in the bank, most especially in the period of inflation, you are not creating value for that money, because money likes to what? To walk. Money likes to move around. Money likes to fly. Money likes walking. But when you put your money in the bank, in form of a savings, you are not putting your money into working, because money is not lazy. Money likes moving around. It likes revolving around. It likes flying around. It likes what? Generating more money, because money is actually what? A spirit. So if you actually put your money in the bank, save your money in the bank there, you are not creating value for your money. Rather, your money is not what creating value, and your money is what is not working for you. Your money is just stagnant in the bank and not creating value for you. And when inflation comes, like what we're experiencing now, you are going to realize that the inflation is going to swallow up your money. You actually think that you actually save for yourself at the end of the day. And that is why you need to avoid putting all your money in the banks. In the banks. It's not going to help you at the end of the day. So inflation will actually affect your money. Economic recession will affect your money. Economic meltdown, inflation, recession, financial ulubalos and financial problems, and the world's economic system will always affect your money when you put your money in the bank in form of a savings. But rather, put your money where it's going to generate value for you at the end of the day. Now, you see, another point under this is that money, lose value in a period of what? Of inflation. Money will always lose value. The reason is that because of the high cost of things in society, goods and services, you discover that the money that you think that you actually put in the bank that is actually big. By the time you use that money to buy one or two things in the society, the money has gone, has disappeared. So money loses value in inflation, but money increases value in form of investment in a period of inflation. So if you are in an inflationary economic system or inflationary trend system, and you are actually investing your money, it is not going to be affected by by inflation, because at that point in time your money is creating a value for you. Then so you need to invest your money rather than saving your money. Then number 7, which I'm going to talk about, things that you need to avoid in order to be rich, is that you need to avoid high risk scheme. High risk scheme. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about what I call the get rich scheme, the get quick rich scheme, the get rich quick scheme. A lot of people, I could remember some time ago during the time of MMM, a lot of people, including me, we lost a lot of money during that, situation. I don't like remembering that time because I actually lost a huge amount of money. I have to be sincere with you. I took some money during that period. I made some money too. But when you actually calculate the amount of money I actually lost at the end of the day, it was actually more than what I actually invested. And today that money is gone, it's evaporated. And till today, I'm still biting or gnashing my fingers or gnashing my teeth for making that erratic, irrational, stupid decision. So if you want to be rich, if you want to make money in life, then you need to avoid the high risk scheme. High risk scheme, the get rich quick syndrome, where you think that when you put 1 naira into something today, you are going to generate 1 million naira tomorrow. That is an act of or greediness, which I've actually learned my lesson as a person as well. So you need to avoid this if you actually want to be rich in life. Then another thing which you need to avoid is not investing in financial education. Not investing in financial education. You see, the world has become a global village now, and you can actually source for information at the tip of your fingers with your phone, with your internet, with books and so many other things where you can actually get information. It's actually a global system now where there is a free flow of information. There is nothing that you actually wanted to ask today you can actually not get on the internet. The informations are all there. So you need to invest on financial education. You need to go to YouTube, watch videos like this, not only from me, but some other YouTubers or content creators that will actually help you to edify you, to make you strong, to solidify you financially, educationally, in the area of finances, so that you can actually be able to invest some money. I could remember some years back when I don't have financial education, I was just lost. You understand? I thought that having huge amount of money in the bank makes you to be rich. But I've now realized one thing, that having huge amount of money in the bank does not make you rich. What makes you rich is what is financial education, and what makes you rich is what is your level of what of investment. How willing are you in investment opportunities? How far can you go in form of what of investment? How far can you go in the area of what of decade of sacrifice? You understand now? So you need to read books, you need to watch videos, you need to go for symposium or seminars, or even pay for some online seminars where you will get this what ideas and experience and education on what on how to actually build wealth. And I can actually bet you that most of the people that are actually watching my videos, they have actually testified to a lot of things in their life, because they are making what a positive change in their life. Then another thing which you need to avoid is that you need to avoid what I call a flamboyant living or lifestyle. This lifestyle of people need to see me as being rich, but you are not rich. A lot of us find ourselves in this situation. We buy expensive things just to look rich, but we are not rich. you know just to look flamboyant, but we are not flamboyant. Just to look exotic, but we are not exotic. Wealth is not built based on flamboyancy. Wealth is not built based on what on fictitious way of life. Wealth is not built based on extravagant form of a lifestyle. Wealth is actually built through the investment. So how can you avoid this? You need to live within your means. What I mean by living within your means is that don't go above your financial level. Live within your means. Nobody's going to arrest you for living within your means. Cut your coat according to your size. So what I'm saying there is that you need to avoid the flamboyant lifestyle, but rather you should but build your wealth over time and avoid what the financial temptation on the internet, because the internet is so bogus now, so so large, that people sometimes can get good things from the internet, and they can also get bad things from the world, from the internet. So the choice is actually yours. So don't be carried away by the flamboyant things you see on the internet. People riding expensive car, wearing expensive clothes, wearing expensive wristwatch, wearing expensive shoes, and the rest of them. Those things are what are funded, in most cases are funded by credit cards. You understand now? Because we're in a society now where people always want to look rich, but they are not rich. Then another thing, which is the last one that you need to avoid if you want to be rich, is that you need to avoid, getting comfortable in your comfort zone. Avoid your comfort zone. What do I mean by comfort zone? A lot of us are actually so relaxed now. We feel that we have actually relaxed, we have arrived, and everything is okay now. We don't need to pursue other endeavors and other things in life. That is the comfort zone. You need to avoid the comfort zone. When you're in the comfort zone, your comfort zone might not make you to see ahead of what is in front of you, because you always feel relaxed, you always feel that you have actually arrived. You are not arrived yet, because there's still a long way you need to go for you to get to that destination. Just like you having a 1 million naira in your account and you think you have actually arrived in your investment. It's not like that. You need to keep building, keep building, keep building, keep building. Every month you need to keep building till you get there. And that's why we call it a decade of sacrifice. At least a minimum year or years that I can actually go, as far as I'm concerned, is 10 years. Imagine you can save 1 million naira, 1 million naira every year for the next 10 years. That makes you 10 million naira rich. And if you look at it in a compound form, that makes that in the next 10 years, you are going to have 20 million naira in your account, in your investment portfolio. Then you can say that you are rich. But still, you cannot relent there. You can still keep going. Because if you can still go for the next 15, 20 years, that means that you're going to have about 40 million naira in your account. Then you can say that you are actually arrived. Because at that point in time, your investment can fund your lifestyle. Imagine if you are getting 20% of your 40 million naira every year in your investment portfolio. That means that if you have 40 million naira, you are going to be generating 8 million naira every year for yourself as a form of an interest. I can bet you that you can live your life with 8 million naira every year. You can even pay yourself with maybe 1 million naira per month, or you are collecting a salary of 1 million naira per month. It is possible. That's a decade of a sacrifice. So being in a comfort zone might actually make you to feel relaxed I have actually arrived. I hope you have actually gained something in this video today. If I've actually gained something, if I actually gained value in my video, please subscribe now. I remain your humble, loyal, pragmatic, inventive, innovative, productive David Oni. My YouTube channel is a Creator Mindset. Till I see you next time, God bless you. God bless Nigeria. God bless your family. God bless Lagos State. And God bless your world. Thank you and God bless you. Bye bye.